Welcome to the show, everyone. If you are finding this on YouTube, know we have a podcast. And if you're new to me, hi, I'm JJ. This is my show, which means I'm going to talk. This is Jeannie Peters, who's been on the show a million times. You'll hear all about her on the podcast, and we'll talk a little bit about her background. But again, literally, she's been on the podcast not a million times because I only have like 1,000 shows, but probably out of the 1,000 shows, we're talking like probably at least 50 times. Okay. Between video and audio, probably 50 times. So you can find her. But so we have a really interesting topic to talk about that is probably it's right on time, but it's something that I've wanted you to know for a long time and just didn't have like the right time to talk about it. So we're going to talk about homeopathic constitutional remedies and flu prevention, natural flu prevention. So Jeannie, welcome to the show.
Thanks, JJ. Good to be here again.
And again and again and again. Okay, so first, let's start with the topic that I wanted to start talking about. And I know a lot of you that are probably tuning in are really wanting the second part of this conversation. So let me educate you about why we're having this conversation. When it comes to healing, when it comes to emotional healing and vibration and frequency and gut stuff and nervous system, and I've been dealing with, I don't know, Jeannie, if you've seen my posts, I've been doing a lot of psychedelic explorations and learning how that is very impactful for our neurological reprogramming and for releasing things like anxiety and depression and really changing our reality. But at the same time, I don't necessarily want to promote that people take psychedelics all the time necessarily, or always be doing something. I was looking at other energetic ways for us to come into balance, other ways. So energetic balance to me is going to mean that emotionally I'm clear, that I'm processing what's coming up for me. I'm not holding anything in. It's going to be grounding. It's going to be sleeping. It's going to be my vitamins. It's going to be my hormones. But what other thing? And I thought about this recently for my own health, because I thought, what other thing could I be doing right now that would energetically promote more balance? And I remembered us having the conversation years ago, and you helping me with this. I reached out to Jeannie for her counsel to help me identify my constitutional remedy. Now, Jeannie's going to tell you that she doesn't feel comfortable necessarily having this in a really, really in-depth conversation about constitutional remedy, but you know enough to teach me that I want you to share with people the benefit of finding out, first of all, what it is and why you think it's important, or why I think it's important.
Well, I think I'm going to say that homeopathy meets some of the requirements that you just mentioned. You're looking at like how you can find harmony in body, mind, spirit. And the beautiful thing about homeopathy is that like treats like, it's safe, it's non-toxic. And when I say like treats like, what you might find would create strong symptoms if you took too much, something in a very tiny little dose can be enough to stimulate processes in the body. So it's like energy medicine. It's like energies are coming up to help bring your body back into balance. And it's, using animal, plant, mineral types of substances to bring you into balance. And it's almost like a lock and a key. So if you find the right remedy for you, it's like it unlocks processes or like forces so that your body can go and heal itself. So think of when you have symptoms. Symptoms are basically the body's desire to sometimes bring itself back into balance. But if you can go ahead and speed up that process. So for example, think about if you, let's say you were having like an allergic reaction and your eyes were really watering and your nose was running. We would give you like a homeopathic preparation of allium. Allium is in the onion family. And we've all experienced what happens when you cut an onion and all of a sudden, you have like your eyes start watering. You might even find your nose watering. That's a perfect example of where that substance will cause symptoms. But when you take it and you're having the symptoms, it can actually cause them to just calm down. So like treats like an allium family is just a perfect example of that. But there's so many others. So when I think about constitutional remedies, we're looking at things that would bring certain maybe behavioral or emotional or physical characteristics back into balance. I'll give you an example of mine. Mine is phosphorus. Phosphorus, think of it, it's like the power that puts on a light. It's a light bulb. So phosphorus for me, when I'm in balance, I have great energy. When I'm feeling like I've overwhelmed myself, I've done too much, gosh, I feel like depleted, but a little bit of phosphorus every month, every week actually can help those energies stay in balance. So I have more consistent energy throughout the week, which has been a gift for me. I've been taking it for years. I take that and Salacia. And those two together have just been, think of them as almost like friends. When you find your right remedy, it's like having a friend tap you on the shoulder and say, you know what, we could bring you back into balance and you would feel so much better. So if I can say that energy stability is kind of an example of one of the outcomes that can occur when you find that right remedy. So a lot of it would be looking at your symptoms. You know, what are your symptoms when you go out of balance? So give me an example of like symptoms that would occur to you when you feel depleted, when you feel like you're overwhelmed, stressed out.
Let's see. Overwhelmed. I don't really get headaches often, but when I do, I know it's because I'm thinking too much and I am overwhelmed. It's usually gut stuff. It's usually, doesn't matter what I eat, doesn't matter what I'm taking, doesn't matter what I'm doing. And I'm in reaction mode, which I also think is where I probably hold tension. So, I move real fast. I do a lot of things. I am a super producer. And while I do balance by relaxing and I'm great with self-care, all of my self-care providers always say they are always impressed with how well I have my massages and my acupuncture and I exercise and I go to the spa and I take baths and I play with my cats and I sleep in and I have that down. It's almost like the Aries all or nothing. It's either when I'm on, I'm on, and when I'm off. But there's sometimes a lack of balance in between there where I'm not really finding how to be calm in the doing or in the doing more slowly. It's literally it's like an Aries perspective. It's like all or nothing. I think energetically I'm so engaged that everything is firing but I don't know, and I can slow that down for different reasons, different things like writing or meditating or watching TV or dancing or cooking, but there are parts of me that I can feel that aren't completely grounded. Even if I'm grounding, even if I'm doing all the right things, I've been missing. There's this little energetic piece that I feel would really make a big difference, which is why I reached out to you recently to remind me of what my constitutional remedies are, because I really feel right now that would really help me and help my body come into a place where my intuition could lead me better. Right now, I feel like I'm scattered in a lot of different options and I'm trying all the different things, but I'm feeling like back when I had fibroids and I went through all of that. And one day you guys will hear that whole podcast and story and the whole thing. I mean, in full, because there are really great lessons in there. And for you too, to not go just listen to your doctor tell you need a hysterectomy when you freaking don't, and you don't want to take out your uterus. But, but it was like, I had to be pushed into pain. I was crying so many times and had to go, hello, McFly, this is not right for you. Can you tell by the way you're reacting? This is not right for you. You do not feel relief. You do not feel good about these recommendations. You're hysterically crying and you're going to do it. Like, hello. So, but I just kept trusting. And I would do things, but I would just kept trusting until the day my intuition said, go look at that thing that they told you not to do 2 years ago. Oh, now that's a thing to do. Okay, cool. Go do it. And, right. And just don't follow what your guidance is telling you. And right now I follow my guidance a lot in some things, but I need a little help. So I'm feeling like I think the constitutional remedy is feeling like the foundation energetically that will help bring me back into intuitive balance.
I can say I told you that I thought there were about 3 remedies. One of them is Tuja, which we have used with you because it's great for anybody who has those physical growths. They get fibrocystic breasts, they have ovarian cysts, they just get cystic, they have warts or something. But Tuja just helps, it helps to go ahead and almost like dissipate some of those energies. Some of that can be related to just people who tend to be more estrogen dominant are more likely to go and have those growths. And so Tuja just helps to balance that. But it's specifically for that person who's sensitive, emotional, but very strong intellect, which you have, very psychic, sensuality you have. I mean, just an intuitive connection with nature. There's a lot of Tuja that would benefits you. So using Tuja as a remedy, even if it's not your constitutional remedy, would be a great one for you. I use two. You can use two, just because again, there is just these tendencies, and it will help to balance not only the physical, which you have had, but that emotional and that behavioral. So yeah, so Tuja, and then the other one is sulfur. Sulfur is the beautiful benefits of people who naturally have a lot of sulfur, have fire, which you have a lot of fire. You just mentioned you had a lot of fire in your chart. So, it's this self-confidence. It's this enjoys life's pleasures. You're cheerful. You've got this strong ego that is able to direct and lead people. You're comfortable in front of a group. You get energy when you're able to share your gifts with others. You have an unbelievable desire to learn. That is the strong qualities of sulfur. The kind of negative qualities of sulfur that would be with somebody who's maybe got too much fire would be that they get angry easily. They might lash out. They might feel upset and pissed off about things that they can't control. I know you've had. I know you've had some of that.
I had it today at the gym. I'm not lashing out, but I literally had that thought today at the gym when I'm looking around at the two trainers that are there, and I'm thinking, can there please just be better trainers in the world? Can I just please teach everybody how to be a better trainer? Because it's just really unfortunate that you're paying somebody and they really aren't doing anything. Anyway, I just get so frustrated because they don't understand the body. They don't understand biomechanics. They don't understand physics. This is why I stayed a trainer for so long, because I look around and I see so many bad exercising happening with trainers and people. And I just want to educate people. And then I get mad that people don't know I have this knowledge, or know that there's a better way, and that here they're going to go and not either get
sulfur
results.
Sounds like it could be could be a good friend for you, particularly when you find yourself reacting strongly when these are obstacles that you see in your life that you maybe feel like I've got to do something, and it's not appropriate. So you could just
I didn't. And all the work I've been doing on rewiring core wound patterns, I take a deep breath. I focus on something different. I know that person. I can talk myself through it and be fine. It's just by my initial reaction is learned of what do you do? I just want to say, can I tell you why you're a bad trainer? Do you care about what you're doing in your profession? Can I please educate you on some things I just saw that indicate to me that you have no freaking clue about the body? Anyway,
you can get a degree in like a weekend, right? So
it's not even. But it's not even that, that it's not even, someone can have information, but someone's not interested. So you're talking on deaf ears. No one's asking me. No one, this comes back to my own core wounds, but I just think it's funny in the sulfur conversation that, because I did think I've gotten much better. I used to not go to the gym for that reason. I couldn't go to the gym and look around at all of the bad things happening and not feel like I wanted to go. That's why I did so well initially when I first started as a trainer, because I literally would go save people from themselves. Like, can I ask what you're trying to get from this exercise? Can I teach you how to do it? And they'd be like, oh, can you show me? And that's why I kept training clients for so long, 10 years, 12 years. So it was hard to let go because of loving the information, loving the sciences, loving teaching it, loving.
I think that's, what, JJ, the more you talk, the more I realize that sulfur is your strong constitution.
Well, it's in my shopping cart right now.
Sulfurs they love knowledge. So why would you get a podcast going? And not just one, like 5 different podcasts, you
like 18,
love information
16 right now.
Yeah, you love information. So that is part of, your gifts. So a little bit, where you would take maybe 5 pellets several times in a day. And when you're taking your constitutional remedy, you're looking at something that's 30C. It's highly diluted, but you only need to take 10 pellets once a week. And I actually just put it into my phone, and it comes up. I get a little message on Saturdays, then I take one on Sundays, and that's it. Half the time I forget, but that if I get it even twice a month, it's great, because just think if a pendulum's swinging too wildly, just think it's bringing it back into balance. That's a great analogy. When you find yourself, feeling like you could see that trainer, you had those same thoughts, but you didn't feel that strong. Not that you will never, ever feel those strong feelings about somebody who's not being trained properly, but it's not something in which you feel like you have to take any kind of action.
Right. No, I breathe and I focus and I know all the things, and it's gotten better over the years with all the emotional work. And I question myself, like, what's it about? This is your ego. This is it. Like, what is this about really? And I go through all that. But this constitutional remedy, I wanted to have this conversation and share with people because, first of all, homeopathy is inexpensive. So I got in my shopping cart right now 3 vials, 2 sulfurs, and a tuja, and I'm at $17.46. Okay, $17.46. It is a sugar pill. It is vibrational medicine. We've talked about it on the show several times. Jeannie and I have gone through a couple different episodes. And if you are listening to this, you can check the show notes. I will link those episodes. They're old, but they're as good as we're talking about right now. So you can learn more about homeopathy if you don't know about it, but it doesn't interact negatively with anything. There's no danger in it. You can't overdose. It's either going to work or it's not going to work. And it's a sugar pill. So I feel
It's
like
good for your pets.
it's great for your pets. Oh my gosh.
You've used
Yes.
it with your cats.
Yes,
And
I
you
have.
can get it either as liquids or the pellets, but even the medicines on the outside. So if in a pinch you didn't have, some kind of liquid, you could just take that, put it into a little bit of a shaker bottle with just a little bit of clean filtered water, and then just shake it up, and then you could just use that in their food, or you can put it on their paws, or you can put it in their water, and you can be helping to support their constitution as well.
And
So I
any
love it.
other ailments or things that you would like to treat. Side note, I'll tell you later about trying to find a vet up here. I may have to go to Santa Barbara. I've been looking for someone who will be supportive of alternative therapies. But anyway, that's just Jeannie and I chit-chatting because my doctor, when Sugar was constipated, wanted me to give her Miralax. I
Oh
wanted to say,
gosh.
are
Oh
you
no.
effing kidding me? Are you effing kidding me? I'm like, okay, why am I going to these people? So anyway, I've gotten enough people that have said there's these great people in Santa Barbara. It's a little further of a drive, but at this point, it's worth it to work with people who understand that there is more to medicine than just pharmaceuticals and chemicals, that we have food,
Yeah.
we have behavior, we have emotions, we have homeopathy, we have flower essences, we have grounding, we have so many different things to choose from. So that's the bridge to lead this conversation into the next piece, which most of you are tuning in for, because I'm sure it's going to be the title of this episode, about preparing for flu season naturally and being able to strengthen your immunity in the most natural ways possible, and the things that people have missed and are continuing to miss that we are going to talk about. So the first one Jeannie's going to talk about gut, but I would like to start with homeopathy first, if that's okay.
Sure.
Can we talk about some of the remedies? I know Influenzinum is one of them that you recommended. So I literally have 2 vials of it in my purse. And then the Aussie one I never sell.
Yeah,
Aussie,
I'm going to go ahead and show it up because people have probably seen this. Oscillococcinum. And that one is, I just think this is like the #1 flu remedy in Europe. It's the #1 flu remedy in France. And it's actually, one of the ones that you can find at CVS, Rite Aids, Sprouts, or Whole Foods. I mean, it's everywhere. And it's because it works. But it's basically little tiny pellets. It's actually little pellets of the avian flu virus. But you would use it when you feel like you've got the classic symptoms of flu. And so where homeopathy works really well is that the sooner that you notice that you have symptoms, that you're becoming ill, that's when you want to jump on it. So, for me, when I know I've got a flu coming, it's usually because I get a chill. Some people, they'll get hot, but I get the chill. And then the next thing is I might get achy. I feel like my joints start to ache. So if I can jump on it when I feel that, and you take one of these little vials and you can maybe take a nap. Oh my goodness, I have had so many clients in our practice who just after one remedy felt, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm back in balance. We'll usually get them to take 3, but it works so well. But it's all about jumping on things when you first start to notice those symptoms. So that's one.
Can I give a testimonial on that?
Please.
I remember single living in Manhattan Beach, doing all the wrong things, out eating pizza, drinking, not getting any sleep, feeling the little tickle in my throat, and then starting to take that right away. Never got sick. And again, you have to catch it the minute, if you're too far gone, then it isn't going to pull you back, but it's that little indicator. So it's the tickle in the throat. It's the coughing. It's the sneezing. It's the, for
Headache,
me, it's the
common.
headache. It's the lymph node.
Fatigue. Some people will just feel tired and then they get off a plane and then they, in 2 hours they're sick. So, if you're feeling fatigue, a lot of times, if you're traveling and you're moving during the season, people are doing too much. This is a great remedy. You do not have to have necessarily the flu. This also works great. I have a lot of students on this. My own grandson is using this right now because he's getting ready for finals. So not finals, he's getting midterms. So, headaches and fever. So it's a really good one to have in your wellness pharmacy, in your own wellness pharmacy.
I have a big box of it. You always want to have it on hand, have it in your purse, have it in your bag,
Have
have it in
some
your
when you're
desk.
traveling.
I
Yeah.
have some at my desk. I bet you I bet you
Love it.
I bet you it's on my desk somewhere here. So, okay. So that was one remedy. And then what's another one or two we can
There's a
talk about?
couple of them, I think, because I kind of call it not only the flu, but it's also just cold or just crud. This is throat calm is a great one. So this is sore throat relief. So a lot of people will find that will be the way that it manifests. So like JJ was saying, if you got a little tickle in your throat, this is great for kids, because you can just spray this. So it's a little sprayer. You can get it way in the back of the throat. But there's also pellets, throat calm pellets, but they're just easy to take, super cheap. And this particular one has about, I'm looking at, all the different kinds of symptoms that people will get with sore throat. So some people will be red and dry. Some people will be hot. It'll be itchy or hoarse, or maybe they'll have swollen glands, or it's hard to swallow. I mean, there could be like 9 or 10 different symptoms related to sore throat. So any of either the spray or the pellets are great. So that's another one to keep on hand. And then, colds. This is one for sneezing, runny nose, nasal congestion, minor sore throat. But the top remedy, there's about 9 remedies in here, but the first one is allium. So we were just talking about an onion. So it's great for anybody who has sneezing and running nose and runny eyes. But there's like 9 other ones in which maybe you're having sneezing attacks. Maybe you're getting a headache. Maybe you have like blocked sinuses. Or maybe it's like running unbelievably. So they'll put 9 or 10 different remedies because maybe 2 or 3 of those are going to be the ones that work for you. So your symptoms are really important. And when you're buying homeopathy, you can always look on the back of the package here and see, well, which of these do I actually have? And if there's at least 3, then pick it up. It's worth it. This is a box like this is usually about $9 or $10, at any of your local pharmacies or health food stores. So,
or Amazon. You can literally
yeah.
I have an entire box. My medicine cabinet is a box of homeopathy. In fact, I have one thing on my desk. I've got the Gasalia. This was for I was having cramping. I was having some kind of stomach thing. And of course, Doug went out to go. I said, could you please go and ask Diane over Rainbow, who wasn't
She
there
knows
that
you
day.
by name.
Well, I interviewed her. We did a podcast on Rainbow Bridge for Taste the Ohio Experience.
They're so amazing. They have so many great remedies there. So
I said, could you go get me something for cramping? And he comes home with this. And I was like, okay, I took it. And it was a little helpful. It wasn't the right remedy for that specific thing. But again, this stuff is inexpensive. It's not going to hurt you. It can't hurt to try it. So have all of it, buy all of it. So anyway, continue.
But I wanted to just say one of the things that these products do is they stimulate, but also strengthen your own vital force. So, when you start finding yourself kind of unraveling and you know that you're maybe going down a path that's going to lead to illness, anything that you can do that would help to strengthen your vitality would take this, but also take a nap, or take 15 minutes to just put shades over your eyes and just rest. Give it a chance to be able to like really stimulate your own forces, because you can't be moving, fast and think that this stuff also helps. You really do need to take the extra piece, which is to allow your own forces within to start building so that it can actually help the healing process.
Let's talk about Influenzinum and any other single remedy that you might think would help with flu symptoms or being proactive. I know we were using it kind of like in place of shot, if you will, like getting your body ready for and to be able to ward off things that were coming and to just strengthen your general constitution and immunity.
Yeah, I mean, there's two that actually, some people might find that Arsenicum album. I think of that remedy for somebody that, first of all, that is a great remedy for anybody to have in your wellness pharmacy because it's classically used for anybody that has food poisoning. So the most common symptom of food poisoning is that you're going to feel like you're going to die and you have unbelievable diarrhea. Well, some people, when they get the flu, it's not like in the head, it's in the stomach. And so arsenicum album is great for people who, there's a lot of people who got COVID, but they had more stomach flu, and that one was great. So arsenicum album is a wonderful remedy, and you would get it in like a 6C. If you were a classic example of somebody who needs arsenicum album would be the person who wakes up at 1 o'clock in the morning and feels like they're going to die. So 1 to 3 a.m. That's kind of unusual. I used to remember this was true for my son. If he was getting sick, it would often happen in the middle of the night. So that's great. Another one you actually mentioned is Influenzinum. So that's great for just helping the respiratory track and just helping with the classic symptoms of like uh, joints that are sore. And then the other one is gelsemium. So that's great for somebody who maybe the way their flu will manifest is migraines, headaches, even like eye pain, chills. But it's also gelsemium is amazing. I call it the student's remedy because it is great for anybody who has anticipation about something that's happening in the future. So a good example of somebody who might need gelsemium would be they know they're going to visit their relatives. They're going to be on a flight in 2 days. There's all the stuff they have to do to get ready. And just that is already triggering symptoms. So gelsemium is great for things that are happening in the future, like a test or a flight. But it's manifesting as headaches and just anxiety, just, kind of a free floating anxiety. So those are other remedies that would be great. And you would get that like in the 30C if you were thinking about that sounds like your constitutional remedy, but usually 6C is the best because it's going to work fast. So 6C means that it's less of a dilution, but it works quite quickly and it works on these symptoms to help slow them down. So you might take it 2 or 3 times in a day.
So if it's 6, it's a higher concentration
No, it's
of
actually a lower concentration. It's less dilution. 30
less.
is it's like diluted many, many times. And so it works slower, but it works deeper on some of these things that are more behavioral or emotional that you're trying to achieve balance.
Okay.
And 6C would be more for somebody that's got these symptoms that came on quickly and
Acute.
you want to be able to, yeah, thank you, acute.
So 6 would be acute, 30 would be chronic.
Chronic.
Okay. All right. Well, I've even seen 200. What's the 200?
So it's again, they're less dilutions. It's 200C, but again, there are things in which it would even be for something that is coming on very quickly. You could use, but I prefer to go ahead and do the 6 and the 30, the 6, the 15, or the 30. Sometimes you'll see cell salts. Cell salts are usually like in a 6 or a 3C, and they're really helping to support the salts that you naturally find in cells, helping to go ahead. It's not like they're actually salts, but they help the body to be able to pull the kind of ions and minerals that are needed to help keep the body in balance. So I think those are some of the key remedies.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the gut part. So, in terms of immunity and really getting, if you're someone who gets sick often, or you're susceptible to the flu, or you feel like you don't have a strong immune system, let's talk about how we can
I think that the
strengthen.
word that I'm seeing a lot more is immune resilience. So it's looking at like, how do you help your body to be more resilient? It's not like to avoid getting sick, but it's like, how do you help your body be more resilient so that if you do, you get over it quickly? And so a couple things to think about with, there's some excellent studies that have come out just in like the last 2 years looking at the power of the gut microbiome to actually prevent or to slow down or to help you become more resilient. And so think about the gut microbiome as everything from the mouth to the anus. So you have this long tube, it's 30 feet long, and it's like almost like one cell thick. So it's not a very thick wall. And that's what separates you from, let's say, your bloodstream or separates you from the environment. So anything that you can do to help support that system is great. So a couple things. One is that recognize that now we know that about 75 to 80% of your immune system resides in the gut. So, if you're looking at all of your immunoglobulins. So immunoglobulins, there's like 5 of them, but think of them as like different branches of the military. They each have a different job to do. So IgG is like helping like toxins that maybe are slowly absorbed more towards the lower part of the gut. IgG is more like your mouth. IgE, excuse me, is more like your mouth. Things in which you go into anaphylactic shock almost immediately if you eat a peanut or something that causes this great reactions. IgM, IgE, IgA, they all work in different ways to help support the gut microbiome. So 2 things. One is that zinc is like one of your friends for the gut. Zinc is really helpful in terms of decreasing any kind of viral replication. If you've got pathogens that are in the gut that don't belong there, they can actually help to sort of handcuff them. So zinc-rich foods would be one thing. Anything that you could do to feed your gut, so any of your fibers, so vegetable fibers, particularly colorful vegetables. So we find now that the different colors of the rainbow actually produce different metabolites by the gut microbiome. So the gut microbiota are breaking those polyphenols, which would be the colors that are found. So think of like a good example would be all of the orange and yellow colored foods have an affinity for the sacral chakra region. So think of like your vagina or your ovaries. We're finding a tremendous amount of polyphenols exist in that region. So there's support in decreasing inflammation. You look at your heart chakra and you think of this beautiful spring green. And we now know that like all the spring vegetables, like your asparagus and your all your greens and that, those metabolites come to strengthen those strengthen that region. So think of color. We've talked about this. Color and your chakras are connected, but also just think that they help support the gut microbiome. They get busy, they start chewing that up, they start producing these fatty acids and producing these metabolites that can help to balance your system. And then I think, the thing that I would look at would be vitamin D. Turns out that, so many receptors in our body actually have a vitamin D component. So you're not going to get a lot of sun at this time of the year. We were talking earlier before the show started about, the cultures around the world. I'm looking at how at this latitude where we are in Southern California, we don't make vitamin D after about the middle of December until like maybe the start of January. Many people that are in elevations that are higher or actually in latitudes that are higher, that's the word I was thinking is latitudes, don't make vitamin D for like, they only make it maybe 5 or 6 months out of the year. So the further north we go, the less vitamin D we make. So vitamin D might be something that's important. And if you're not somebody that's open to taking vitamin D, then at least try to get out and get some full spectrum light for like maybe the 2 hours of the day that you can, which in this area, it's probably 11 to 1. So vitamin D. And then the last thing I wanted to make is just watch what I would call like the terrain terrorist, which is looking at the things that actually wreck up the gut and put you more at risk. So top of the list would be antibiotics. So if you're having flu-like symptoms, do not let your doctor prescribe you like a Z-Pack. Don't take antibiotics. You do not need that. There are so many other things you can do. Number 2 would be glyphosates. That's the herbicides that are sprayed on our plants. We unfortunately are finding that kind of, if you think of your gut wall as having like Velcro-like junctions that hold it together, think of glyphosates as kind of opening that up, creating these holes in the gut, so leaky gut. We can't avoid glyphosates. You can just try to do your best to look at the Environmental Working Group's list of the 15 worst foods for herbicides and pesticides, and then the 15 best. Try and do your best to go ahead and like avoid those that are on the 15 worst. At least buy the organic because you're doing better and more likely that you're going to be getting less that are sprayed. And then the last thing I would say would be just watch sugar. Sugar, I mean, just a couple teaspoons of sugar can really suppress your immune function. So things like your T cells and your natural killer cells that go after cancers, all get suppressed when we're eating a lot of sugar. And I tried to express this the other day to a couple of parents that I had in during the week, because they're saying like, oh my God, how do you go ahead at this time of the year, prevent your kids from having sugar? Well, you start with, just helping to educate them, have them take a look at the back of a package and see how much added sugars are in a product. We're finding now if we can just get our kids to try to be less than 20 teaspoons of sugar in a day, that's a plus, but that's still a lot of sugar. So, just helping to just becoming more aware. I mean, I definitely, with all of my clients, I'm thinking if I've got a package here, this is bark thins. Okay, so this has got 15 carbohydrates, but there's 11 added sugars. So look at the added, not necessarily the sugars that are naturally found like in an apple, but look at things that have added sugars in it and see if you can just drop that. That'll help.
And there are some replacements,
Absolutely.
like monk fruit and stevia, and if your gut can handle it, xylitol and some of the sugar alcohols. But I actually bought a monk fruit liquid I forget why I bought it. I bought it because I wanted to put it in something liquid, obviously, that I didn't need to blend or something. And just because I wanted to practice and see how I could make that a little bit sweeter. And I've been getting monk fruit's been okay. I kind of sneak it in sometimes. I've got, Doug's very aware of not real sugar. So, and I actually have grown to really like the taste of stevia. I don't use it too much. I just use it in my coffee from time to time.
I don't, long way.
Yeah, I don't bake a lot with that or anything, and I do bake a lot. But so let's talk about, I just want to bring up, Jeannie and I were talking about during 2020. There was a video that was going around from a doctor who gave a lecture to other doctors, and he was talking about the flu season that it's really not a flu season. It's a lack of vitamin D season. And that was sort of to like really bring awareness to the fact that, and you were mentioning if someone doesn't want to take vitamin D, Jeannie, who doesn't want to take vitamin D? Do you have people that say, I don't want to take it?
Some people we're finding people, because of the fact that we're recognizing that full spectrum light is a healing nutrient. So the sun has many different spectrums of light. So I have a couple of clients who actually would like to go ahead and get their vitamin D on their own. And it's like I said, you can build it up. So let's say if you were somebody that in the summertime built up an ability to take more vitamin D, you're not using sunscreens, but you're getting out, let's say between 9 and 10, and you're getting some full spectrum light. You're not at the point where there's a lot of UV light in which you're going to be burning. You could build up vitamin D in your body as like a reservoir. And then for these 2 months, you might just do fine without taking vitamin D. But we don't always know without testing, and it's odd, but that's one area where, like, for example, people that are of Medicare age, Medicare doesn't necessarily pay for vitamin D testing, which is just odd to me because we know it's so important, but they don't cover it. So anyway, this particular client that I'm thinking about has done that, has actually built up her vitamin D reservoir so she feels she can get through the next 2 months without it. But most of us would benefit from taking some vitamin D.
I just think it's an insurance.
Yes,
Why wouldn't you take it? I mean, there's more risk in having it low than there is in overdosing it. So just
cancers, you take a look at inflammation, cancers, just mood. It's like a wonderful elixir for your moods and for just optimizing so many body processes. In fact, now they're actually not thinking of it so much as a vitamin, but as like a hormone regulator. Right. So vitamin D. And I think, most of us, we're probably going to need it this time of the year, maybe a little higher dose. So, you might find that because we don't make it, you might need more like 5,000 to 10,000 international units instead of like 2,000. Or you take it, like I take it for me I take a pill, but I take it about 3 times a week because I also do cod liver oil. And my cod liver oil naturally has the expressed vitamin A and vitamin D from the liver of the cod. And so that's a great way of going ahead and really upping my immune system. So that's another food that you might think of as food as medicine for you, along with your vitamin D.
And I would encourage people that if you get tested, because and I know everyone's body is a little bit different in absorption. I was taking a pill for a little while, it kind of crept up, and then something happened and it plummeted, and I felt like I wasn't absorbing it. So I've been doing a liquid in a fat, and that has seemed to really be
That
very
is,
effective for me.
yeah, so glad you mentioned that because we have the same issue. We had people who would just take it on an empty stomach and hardly they made any improvements in their vitamin D. And then the brand that we use, which is Designs for Health, they just naturally have a fat soluble nutrient that they add that really all of our patients end up getting really good results with that. But yeah, not all brands are like that. And check on the back because you don't always know if it contains fat. So, even if your supplements, you want to read the ingredient list and find out. I found a patient the other day that had carnauba wax added along with like 4 to 5 different colors. I'm thinking this is not what you want in your vitamin D. Try to keep it simple. Try to keep it so that it's just maybe a fat and the vitamin D.
Right. Simple is better. Why do we need colors
Yeah.
in a vitamin that makes, unless it's for a kid and they're trying to get the kid to take vitamin D because they're making it green?
Oh, and by the way, that is one of the things. I mean, there's parents out there that are listening to this. Just be aware that one of the things that I call sort of terrain terrorist for your gut is colors.
Mm-hmm.
When it says natural flavors, be aware that's like a smoke screen for basically MSG and things that are really not even close to being natural. And so many kids' products are marketed with all these fancy colors and gums like Carrageenan and Guar gum and that, and they can really mess up the ability for your child to really absorb the benefits of that food. So yeah, I trust less colors, less artificial flavors, better.
We did a podcast on that too. I literally have my editing cut out for me right now. I'm going to have to go through all of the episodes you and I have done to list them. This episode that we're referencing, and both of them actually would not be on Spirit, Purpose, and Energy. They would be on Fit to Love. So I will get that to you. But Jeannie and I did a food colors and additives and all the bad things for your kids. We did a whole episode on that. So I will make sure to, in the beginning intro. So if you're watching this on the video, download the podcast, because in the intro to the podcast, I'm going to list all the different numbers and it'll be in the show notes. It'll be under the show notes here too. But you could at least also, in case you're watching this and you didn't know there's the audio version only, you can download the podcast and that can come with you when you're exercising or
Great,
getting out in the
JJ.
sun to
So
get your
good.
vitamin D.
So important for parents to know this information because again, there's alternatives. There's better products that are out there for your kids. Trader Joe's is actually an example of a place where they're really being a little more aware of these colors, flavors, additives that really can disrupt the gut microbiome.
So now let's talk about how Jeannie can help you, because you may be thinking, okay, some of this stuff I can do on my own. Like I can look at glyphosate, I can look at not taking antibiotics, I can reduce my sugar, but I have no idea how to figure out my constitutional remedy. So Jeannie, how can people get in touch with you, and what would that entail? Would it be one session? Would it be 2 sessions? How could you?
No, I think, and actually, when it comes to homeopathics, a lot of times like a 45-minute to an hour session is all that's needed. And part of what I do is send you a form, so that we can take a look at, some of the symptoms that you have, because we work off of that, but also some of your behavioral characteristics and, looking at your emotions and your physicality. It's a beautiful way to look at your whole self and then to come up with maybe it might be 1, 2, possibly maybe even 3 remedies that could just help to bring you back into balance. And then eventually you, through your own working with the remedy, can feed back to me, what happened, so that you can see, my pendulum isn't swinging as wildly. I don't have as many symptoms. I find that, the 3 months out of the year that I used to get all the sinus conditions, it didn't happen. Or if it happened in a more gentle way. So your feedback is great. So you can reach me at our office, which is 310-373-7830, or just email me is probably the easiest, JP at Nourishing Wellness, and just jot me your questions. We'll go from
.com.
there.
And all this will be in the show notes. It's nourishingwellness.com, JP at nourishingwellness.com. You can go to the website and get the phone number, send her an email, let her know that you heard her on my show.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And that you're interested in setting up a session to do the constitutional remedy. And I'm guessing also too, Jeannie, if they wanted to, probably not in the same session, she could do it for your kids also. So if you have a child that has a weakened immune system and you're concerned about giving them different supplements or drugs or different foods they won't eat, this might be something to look at also. If you give your child the constitutional remedy, that could help strengthen their immune system a little bit and get them back into balance so their body can heal itself.
I think yeah, and I think again, just think of vital force. We all have a vital force. If you can strengthen that for your child early on, things that really help to like keep our kids from maybe reaching their full potential is oftentimes their energy. So if they have the energy to be able to be their best self, what a gift to give to your child. So it's a wonderful investment for you, but also an investment to, help your children thrive.
I will report back on my constitutional remedy. Now because I know I did it at one point, I probably just did the Tuja. I've never done the sulfur, so we're going to do that. What would you say would be a good amount of time to give it to feel a difference or notice a difference? Like, would it be a month?
Question.
Would it be 6 months?
I would go ahead and I put mine in my phone. So I would go ahead and give yourself a month and then, put into like a month after, just to see, what symptoms. And I want to go over that with you because I think it's better for you to be educated and know, what sulfur really works with. So it's not only, again, the behavioral characteristics, but there's also the terrain, so what would that show up as? And I know for sure it really helps with like the blocked sinuses and, people who have just maybe too much, congestion in their sinuses, in their nose, in their ears. So let's go over that.
Well, what's interesting is that the other day I had this thought. Because my nose will start to run when I eat, period. Doesn't matter what I'm eating. It could be hot, it could be cold, it could be spicy, it could be not spicy, but I'll have a discharge. It'll be watery. It won't be like congestion, like I have to, blow my nose, but it'll be watery and I'll have to sort of wipe my nose when I'm eating every time. And I thought to myself this week, it's only Wednesday. I thought to myself, will this ever stop? Like, when am I ever going to get to the place that this isn't going to happen any longer? And so that will be a telltale sign because the congestion that I thought was coming from dairy, which, I was not doing dairy for a very long time. And then I sort of added it back in and then I went away and then I added in a lot of dairy, which was definitely not the right thing to do. I'm trying to find my balance with that too, okay. because I'm like, oh my gosh. Gluten, I'm still off of, at least in this country. I want to quickly hold on. Well, let's talk about that for a second, because this isn't something we can need to do a whole show about necessarily right now. But because during the mastermind, when they were all here, I was asking for food sensitivities and preferences and things. And so, and I had Vesta, and Vesta's a vegan, and then Helen kind of goes back and forth between vegan and she eats dairy anyway. And then everybody else was like, I eat everything. And so Vesta had asked me if it was gluten-free. And I said, well, I am 100% gluten-free when I'm in this country all the time. I said, and it used to be that I'd give myself a couple of days during the year, like 3 or 5 during holidays, potentially, where I would eat something, and that was fine. And then over the years, more and more, I don't need it. I don't care. I can make it in a different way. It doesn't appeal to me anymore. I don't need it. Now, what I learned about gluten, though, in Europe, in Italy, specifically versus here, right? So there's a naturopath here that I use for some chiropractic adjustments, and she actually adjusts uteruses. I was like, okay. So anyway, she's fascinating. And Edie said to me, well, you know that in Italy, the gluten in Italy has, the flour in Italy has 3% gluten.
Yeah.
3.
Right.
Okay. The gluten in this country has 60. 6-0 versus 3. Okay, that's just the first thought. Okay, then we go into the fact that it's harvested and used. It's not sitting in a warehouse for years, right? So we have that aspect, and then we have
and then even different wheat. They use a different wheat. So we have like one wheat. It's typically winter wheat. They have a summer and a winter wheat. So they really have. Their grains that they use are more heirloom. They've been around for a lot longer. They haven't been, bastardized and, geneticized and all of that. So yeah, most of us come back from Italy feeling like, oh my God, it was so much fun to go and eat those foods that we never can eat when we're here.
Well, we bought a pizza oven. So when we were in Naples this year, we have been changed. And so we bought a pizza oven and I tried 20 different gluten-free recipes. I even had gluten-free flour from Italy, which by the way has a lot of gums in it. When I read the ingredients of the gluten-free flour from Italy, I said, I'm not eating this. I would rather eat the wheat because look at this. The ingredient is wheat. The ingredient here, there's 16 of them and 3 of them are gums. I'm like, I'm not eating this.
Yeah.
So I finally just gave in and thought, all right, well, here's what I'm going to do. I don't do it that often. When I make our pizza here for the pizza oven, I'm going to use organic flour from Italy and I'm going to use the regular flour because the rest of it doesn't taste good. It doesn't rise. It doesn't do the thing. I don't want to eat the gums. Anyway, so, looking at inflammatory foods and looking at how we can remove some of those from our diets and, because, I've been gluten-free since 2008 and minus going to Italy and Greece and at times having gluten, I don't eat it when I'm here ever anymore. But I am now only homemade, organic flour from Italy, regular gluten. That's it. Everything else is gluten-free. Don't try to give me anything from this country. I even went back to a restaurant in Redondo Beach, one of my favorites, and asked because I knew they got all their flour from Italy. And I was going to try. I said, so tell me that you still get all your flour from Italy. And the server didn't know any difference and said yes. They come back to me after I took a bite and said, no, we started buying it locally. I'm like, okay, not eating this anymore. So I put it down. I'm like, no, I won't touch it here. 3% versus 60. That alone is enough for you to realize that what we eat here in this country is usually not very good for you. If it's processed and I don't want to be eating a lot of flour anyway. But again, when I'm going to enjoy a pizza, I want to enjoy the best quality and the best for me pizza that I can. And
that is such a sulfur. That is such a sulfur. You just love to enjoy all life's pleasures.
Absolutely. I have wine. I have wine now, right? I made my own wine, right?
I know you did. Okay. I love that label. So I just love that part of you.
Well, good. I will touch back with you a month after, but I'm very hopeful now that maybe this drainage that happens when I eat might go away when I start this constitutional remedy. So everybody that's out there, again, I think this is one of the easiest, least expensive ways for you to take care of your health in an energetic way. Yeah. Besides the flu season and cold season and immune system, but even just like anything you're dealing with. That came to me the other day. And I mean, like this week, I said to Jeannie, you want to do a show? That was Monday. This is Wednesday because I feel I'm ready. And I think maybe that was my intuition saying this is going to help you because it is what you believe. It is simple. It is energetic. It is vibrational. It is foundational. And then from there, then maybe we can start to see what else you need on top of that. It might not correct everything or fix everything, but it's going to bring me into a place where my body is going to be more clear about the symptoms that I'm getting and the things that I'm doing. So I appreciate that.
Great. So I'm so glad you had me on. Thank you very much. All right.
So nourishingwellness.com, everybody.
All right. Thanks, JJ. Everyone, have a great day.